Here's a system you can use to review your own demos. It's a question I get quite a lot, so this is a way to put myself out of work and a way for you to be more proactive in your own development, not having to rely on someone else to check your demos, watch your demos. You just do it yourself. Um, it's a structure that's all about creating kind of rings of scope, and you start with a very close small ring, and it expands until it ends up enveloping the entire map. But obviously you start small because you want to kind of limit your inputs, because that makes your decision making more precise, more clear, more direct. So as an example, let's say that we're Mirage here, and let's say that we're the stairs player. Okay, we're the stairs player on the CT side. So this is our ring of scope right now. It's just about us and what's immediately in front of us. So let's say that we're clearing Palace. Okay, we're not worrying about ramp. We've got a ramp player to check that, or a ticket player, whatever. Our focus is on ourselves and how we're interacting with Palace. So that's it. That's your ring of scope. All of your attention, all your energy goes into how am I dealing with this interaction. And it's going to be mostly kind of mechanical at these smaller rings, because there's not much else to work with. It's mostly just how you're dealing with one situation. Okay, and then once you've looked at that ring of scope, you begin to expand it and look for errors in a greater ring. So we have our immediate ring. We can look for mechanical mistakes. Did I push too far? Did I use my utility correctly? Was my spray wrong? Was my crosshair placement wrong? Whatever. But then we make it a little bit larger, and we start to consider, okay, what is going on in this area around me instead? So okay, so now I need to be concerned about, is there someone pushing up Tetris? Is that a thing I need to be aware of? Have I checked connector in my time? Do I need to clear that? Is someone watching it? What about jungle? Do I have a teammate there? So now it's not just about your mechanics, not just about how you're interacting, it's about what else is going on in the map. Once you feel comfortable with that, you expand it further. Now we start to take this kind of control. Say, okay, so what's happening on the map itself? Have I had a player clear out ramp or call anything on ramp? What's my mid player doing? Are they pushing on mid? Is this something I need to be dealing with? And eventually this grows and grows and grows, and you start getting more and more information that is going to inform your decision making. So you're in a position to make the best choices. What you actually need to take control of in these rings changes environment to environment. So if you're in a pug, you do kind of want to be concerned with the whole map, because you're not always going to have the best teammates who communicate accordingly. So if you're just in a position where you can track all the information across the entire map, you're always going to be the most informed. If you're working with somebody, like if you're in a duo queue, and you're playing here and your teammate's playing here, or you've got a teammate on the other side, you don't have to concern yourself with that ring, because you're getting the information through your comms. So it changes depending on what situation you're in. But generally, if you're pugging, you want to have as wide a ring as you can manage in your matches, so that you're always making the best decisions, because you always have the most information. When it comes to your demo reviewing, it's the same thing. You want to take in as many factors into your own critique as possible. So it's not just about your mechanics. Maybe you could have made a better decision along the way instead that would have given you the advantage. So if we say that we're on the T side instead, okay, another example. So our ring of scope is around us immediately. It's going to deal with what's directly in front of us and directly around us. So that's going to be dealing with like our scope of vision like this. So what's happening in this area that I have to deal with? But then we start to create a larger ring. So say we do this and we start to think, okay, so am I in a position to push forward to this position, or should I be falling backwards to this position? And we start to take that into consideration. Was this an error in my movement or positioning? Then we create a larger circle and we start to think, okay, was there someone up on stairs over here? Did I have a player in mid that I could have been working with? Did I have a player in palace that I should have been coordinating with? Where were my mistakes? Was it just purely mechanical in this scope, this ring of scope, or was it actually a problem with the larger area? So we'll take a look at a couple of examples. Then we've got a demo lined up here. We'll pause it. Because this is just going to be kind of basics, we're going to deal with a relatively small ring of scope, and then we'll expand that into larger and larger ones at a later time. So let's just look at an interaction, look at a round. So this is the first kind of buy round. But it's an MG game, so it's don't expect the most. But we're going to focus here on anchor. So we want to stop and want to consider what went wrong and what went right. And there is a mix in this round. So for starters, we'll focus on what went wrong, and we'll go through again, and we'll focus on what went right, because we want to recognize errors, but we also want to recognize things that should be commended and repeated and encouraged. So this first round, we'll just focus on errors. We'll go back, watch it again. So we're hurling out all this utility so early, and there's so little time left on the clock. There's not much presence here, but 20 seconds have passed, and we're down to 1 flash. That's bad, so we want to hold back. That's something in your immediate ring of scope. What am I doing with this round? I'm throwing out all my utility in the first 20 seconds, with not much to actually trigger it. I'm aiming at my teammate, who is directly in front of me. I can see an enemy, and I immediately retreat while reloading with 24 bullets left in the magazine. I stand in the open with a grenade out, leave myself vulnerable after just making an audio noise of changing weapons, which was also forced me to push out in a 3v2 when I could have just held my ground because I had a Galil. So, okay, there are immediate things around the player that they could have done wrong. So this is a small ring of scope. These are critiques you can take forward. There's a number of things there, and if you just start working towards each of those, you'll start having better games. They're mechanical mistakes. To do with you and what you directly contributed. Let's look at positive stuff instead. So we're just dealing with the immediate ring around them. So immediately they've saved a Galil from the last round, despite having enough to buy an M4 for themselves, but they didn't. They recognized that Galil is good enough. It's a rifle. Let's keep it. They have bought full utility, which is great. They've upgraded from body armor to head armor. Which is great. They're doing things they should be doing. They had a plan to use the Molotov, but they saw their teammate throw it instead, so they relented. They saved that for later. That they're so willing to just use their utility is good. Is good. So many players are scared of pumping out the utility. Obviously, we saw from the first run through, they're using it too early, and with they're a bit trigger happy throwing out their util, but it's much better to be using it too much and then pull back than not know to use it at all. So it's good that we're moving with teammates to try and take this duel. We've done it wrong because we're pointing at our teammate, but the idea of aggressing with teammates is great. We want to encourage that. The idea of moving into cover to reload is something we want to encourage, but the execution was wrong because we didn't need to do that. That we're repositioning for a more aggressive push in this 3v3 is great. Also, that we're responding to our teammates rotating in on the map. Everyone's pulled into the site, so I don't need to be holding back there on the site anymore. I have teammates holding the back end, so I should push forwards. That's great. Upgrading a weapon is obviously the right thing to do. Just not then, because you didn't need to. And then we die again. So there's a mix of good and bad there. In that tiny, that whole round was over very, very quickly. We still have a minute down on the clock. But there's so much you can digest from that short interaction that you can take forward into your future games. Okay, so from there you can start making active developments of what you want to do next. So you do this for a whole game and you look at commonalities. So, okay, am I reloading after I'm only firing a third of my magazine over and over and over? Am I pushing too far forwards with too many players? Am I burning out all my util too early into the round? There are things you can look for that are like trends, and you can pick them apart and be like, okay, these are my key areas for development because I know that the things I'm doing round after round after round. So You can look at your successful and non-successful duels and pick things apart, but the important thing is that you're looking for the positives as well as the negatives, because you want to keep doing what's working. You want to keep doing the things that are correct. So some duels you just win because the enemy makes mistakes, but most duels you're going to win because you do the right thing, and you want to recognize what those things are and build upon them. So this was just kind of the basic look, a basic ring of scope. If we go back to our ring of scope, this was very much focusing on kind of me and myself. This isn't me, but the me and myself of demo reviews, what was my happening in my immediate vicinity, and what actions was I taking, what were the correct ones, what were the incorrect ones, how do I want to change those. In the future, we'll look at broader scopes and how they interact with rounds, but this was just to get a look at how you can start breaking down your own demos more easily. Just making a start is progress. Doing something is better than doing nothing. Don't worry about doing it perfectly. Just worry about doing it at all. Because so many players don't watch their own demos. And it's so straightforward to recognize common mistakes that you are repeating and they're getting you killed. Because you'll see, if you're playing matchmaking, you even have your lowlights reels, which is great. You get to see if you're swinging out too far over and over and over, if you're out of position over and over and over, if you're getting caught on rotations over and over and over. It's very easy to see commonalities, both positive and negative. You just have to look for them. That's going to be it for now, but good luck in your future games.